After having new gears installed in my truck in Sacramento, California, I had 10 days to kill before I could return and get my steering rack installed. So I took advantage of that time to head down to the Mojave Desert to break in my new gears because the trails are super easy to do. But after several days on the Mojave Road, I had to figure out where I was heading next. I had no idea whatsoever at all. So being on the Mojave Road, I made a campfire out of some ironwood and sagebrush, and I prayed to the Native American gods, just hoping that they would answer me and tell me where I needed to be next. And lo and behold, Shawn from Moab Motorsports answered. He had sent a spirit guide for me to follow, and follow I did. And if you want to see where this spirit guide led me, you're going to want to sit back, you're going to want to relax, and you're going to want to check this out. And before we start this video, I'm going to ask you to hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell so you're notified of all new videos. Here we go. So knowing that Shawn had my back, I followed the spirit animal where it led me, and it led me eastward. Usually this time of the year, I'm always heading west, but I was not going to doubt Shawn's Native American skills, and I was not going to doubt the bird. And the bird flew me right into the shadow of the La Salle Mountains in Moab, Utah, strangely enough. And he brought me right to one of my home away from homes out in Moab, Moab Motorsports. Shawn's Native American voodoo did not fail. I followed the bird and found what my mission was. My mission was to do a walk-around video of Trailmater, something people have been asking me to do for years and I had never got around to it. Well, here it is. This is part one, at least.
Yes, it has.
6 years.
6 years.
And she's still rolling, and she's bigger and better than ever before.
Yeah, it's definitely not what rolled off the trailer the first time you saw it.
No, not at all. But you did have a plan back then, if I remember, and it looks like you surpassed it big time. Yeah. And you even had a rollover where you had to rebuild this in about, what, a week?
Well, I didn't have to, but I did. From when it crashed to the next recovery was 8 days.
8 days. All right, so a week.
Yeah.
I exaggerate. It is what it is. But holy cow. When we first met, you weren't on YouTube. You've become an absolute YouTube sensation. Your videos get crazy views. You've got tons of fans. People are stopping by the shops. Merchandise is flying off the shelves, and you're still doing recovery after recovery after recovery. Are you even able to do repairs anymore?
No, well, we are, but we shut the shop down as far as that goes. We're doing strictly recovery, and we'll repair it if we can. You know, if we get it back to the shop and it needs a tie rod or it needs some stuff fixed, we'll pull it in the shop and fix it. But it's gotten to the point where we're so busy with recoveries that we can't put a Jeep on the lift, and then we get a call for a recovery, and then we can't finish the Jeep, right? And then we get people mad at us because, like I said, Moab's a place to visit, not somewhere to live. So like, people are here for a couple days, they need their rig fixed now so they can keep on their journey or doing whatever.
I'm here.
So yeah, it's kind of frustrating, but it's nice in that aspect of, like, when I moved to Moab, I had the concept of wanting to do a recovery company. I wanted to do off-road trail repair and recovery.
But you love this.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. But I discussed it in the beginning with a lot of people, like, I wanted to do it, but the hardest part is getting established.
Well, Rory, Moab Motorsports, and specifically Trailmater is established. It took 6 years, but it is established, and I'd have to say it's carved in stone. No pun intended. Now, the video clip you just watched of Rory and I talking is for another video. It isn't for the walk-around video. I only used it because it made sense to use it, because it explains his aspirations and his plans, his dream, as it were, for Trailmater. Here is the actual walk-around video. The other video will be coming up later in the week. But here's Trailmater in depth. We're back at Moab Motorsports. It's still the same day, but it's a different video. But Rory's going to take his time today, a very, very busy schedule, to actually show us around Trailmater. A lot of people have never seen what's under the hood or what kind of suspension. This truck has come so far from its original intent of spare parts to Trailmater, it's astonishing. And then an accident forced you to do a few things not too long ago.
It was probably the most helpful accident ever. It needed so much that I had half-assed over the years, that it needed addressed, and that gave me the perfect opportunity to do it, while also breaking my heart because it happened.
It is, but you took lemons and made lemonade big time.
Big time.
And when you say you half-ass things, you were also running a shop, running a crew, running up and down the mountain, pulling people out while trying to keep the truck. So,
and like you said, there's so much that went into this truck as a test. So it's like, well, I'm going to try this and see how it works. Okay, it worked, so we'll keep it and we'll go with it. Or it didn't work, we'll take that off and we'll do something else. So it was like slapped together. Like I threw these fenders on right when I started building the truck, right about 5 years ago. 5.5 years ago. Because when you first seen it, it didn't have fenders at all.
It did not.
I put these on just to display the name and what we do. So that was just supposed to be on there. So these were all tacked on temporarily. I just bent them up, threw them on there, tacked it on. So then, when the truck got wrecked or whatever, I went in and I full welded all the tubes in because they were still tacked from when I put it on, just as a banner place. And so, like I said, it was finalizing all that stuff that was just thrown on to see how it would work.
Now, is that factory, that hood prop?
No,
okay.
It's custom.
Aftermarket.
Very custom, yeah.
Nice.
But
What do we got under here, Rory? Everyone's heard it, but they don't actually usually get a chance to see it.
So this is a GM Performance Parts Replacement 454 big block Chevy.
Yo, that's crazy.
I laugh because everybody on Earth insists. Get ready to shelter in place. No offense, here it comes. Everyone insists you must have a turbo diesel under the hood for this, the torque, and you stick with a big block because the new truck's got a big block as well.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I'm just a fan of old tech. I like the brute force of the big block trucks. The motors, they work great. They'll idle all day long and pull at barely over an idle. They work great, and in the situations with the gearings I've got in both trucks, they work amazing. And despite the fact that I have long tube headers, dual exhaust, and glass packs, it's still quieter than a diesel.
It is quieter than a diesel, and it's a welcome to someone in my age category. It's a welcome sound because there's nothing like the sound of a big block. Everyone's got a turbo diesel,
Yeah.
and there's none of that annoying black smoke.
No,
I don't get that, but
Yeah.
at any rate,
but like you said, this isn't built, this isn't modified. I mean, it's got the headers, it's got the aluminum intake, it's got an MSD throttle body injection, so it is fuel injected. But it doesn't have a cam, it doesn't have all this stuff because I'm not interested. My favorite description that I have in a couple of my videos is horsepower is how fast you hit the wall. Torque is how far you take the wall with you when you hit it. We're more interested in moving walls.
nicely said.
That's the thing. I'm interested in doing work. I'm not interested in bragging about horsepower. But we've also got all our extra fluids tucked in under the hood here.
And if you've been a fan of Moab Motorsports for years, like myself, you were always dying for a reason for one of these under the hood, because he cuts them out on the laser table, and they're so beautiful, etc. But these are all highly functional. I mean, you're set up. You're set up. You're not fooling around.
Yeah, we've got, like I said, two gallons of antifreeze. We've got gear oil, brake fluid, engine oil, and that is all transmission fluid across there, because transmission fluid is very useful in the fact of you can use it for power steering fluid, use it for transmission fluid. A lot of transfer cases, newer transfer cases run on transmission fluid for the oiling. So that's why we have way more transmission fluid than we have any other fluid.
Makes sense.
So we run that. The alternator here is the heart of the welder. It's a Premier Power welder.
Now that saved our ass one time, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, when I may have broke a U-joint on the front driveline.
It was the most valiant. We made it within a mile. We made it within a mile. That was amazing.
This is going to turn into a search and rescue, maybe for us. Truck wasn't firing on all cylinders, and then we just broke the front drive shaft. I'm not digging this.
And I wasn't. But look at this. Rory wasn't being egotistical or stubborn. He knew these guys from down south were trapped up here, and we were within 1 mile of reaching them. But the snowdrifts just did not allow it to happen, so we had to tap out and head back down the mountain and call search and rescue, and we did. But yeah, that thing, you burned that thing right on there, and it got us out.
Yeah.
Because getting out was just as bad as getting in.
Yeah, that's usually the way it goes. But like I said, I keep it simple. It's got a serpentine belt set up on it, so it runs one belt, runs everything. I carry a spare belt because one time I had a belt shred on me. So I carry a spare now, just in case.
That makes sense. How did you set up a serpentine belt on a big block?
I don't know.
Okay.
When we bought the truck originally, me and my buddy bought the truck originally, it had it on it.
Awesome.
Yeah, which I believe the late 80s, early 90s big blocks had a serpentine belt.
Because that's amazing. Because one belt to do it all is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
On an older, and like the small blocks have a lot of conversions that run everything on serpentines, but the big blocks are kind of dropped on a lot of things. But so we've got all that. Aftermarket radiator.
And the beauty of being you is you can make custom mounts for absolutely everything as you're doing it.
Yeah.
I watch you do it.
Yeah, this one's actually smaller than the one that was in it, but it's aluminum 2-core, so it actually keeps up just as well as my old factory 4-core did. This thing will run all day long in 110 degree heat, and it barely breaks over 200 degrees.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
But that's also why I run a mechanical fan. I don't run an electric fan because when you're welding, the alternator is not charging the batteries. So anything that you can cut down on electrical use helps when you're welding for long terms or whatever.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It makes sense after you say it, but I wouldn't have thought of it.
But so like, when it got when the crash happened, I cut the old bar out and we put all new tubing in here, and we added a lot more gussets that we didn't have before. We would always crack the tubes out here, and they would crack out here from the flexing of the truck. And so we added more gussets and more stringers in here and everything, and it stiffened it up, and it's forcing the suspension to move, not the frame.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, because that's kind of what you need to do. And these old trucks, these old Chevy trucks are known for having a weaker style frame, the C-channel frame as opposed to like a boxed frame. And so by adding more tube work and everything to everything and tying it all in together, that keeps the frame stiff and together. And this is a true 1-ton frame. It's not a half or a 3/4 ton frame, which are lighter duties. This is a true 1-ton truck. And then, like I said, the funny part about this truck from the spare parts thing of what it was built out of, this is a Jeep TJ front bumper.
Imagine that.
Yeah, that we put on. I put on when I built the truck for my buddy years ago. We had it laying around, and I was like, "Look, it's a winch mount." But it's a Jeep bumper, and so it's funny. And then we've got the leaf springs,
which are magnificent. Those are serious money right there, if I'm not mistaken.
These are Alcan springs out of Grand Junction, Colorado. They do custom leaf springs. They're one of the few companies that are doing custom leaf springs. And I keep leaf springs because they're strong, they're simple, and they're reliable. But if you throw some triple bypass shocks at them, you can smooth them out and they can ride pretty nice.
Recently, a couple of the guys in your shop told me that the ride in Trailmater is actually better than the ride in a really well-built, expensive Jeep.
I feel that it is. It's
How crazy is that, dude?
It's wild. We've got to go through here in the next week or so. We are going to cut all these mounts off and redo them because they've been welded back together so many times. We're just kind of over it, and we're going to do some 1/4-inch plate and rebuild them and just kind of make it a little bit better. But it's all the stuff, like as you use it, you learn what works and what doesn't. That's one of the things we've been patching together for so long that it's finally time to just deal with it. But it's full hydraulic steering. It's not a hydro assist, it's full hydro. And then another thing that adds on the front of this is this little bit. So this and this serve absolutely no purpose other than to add weight on the front of the truck. It's 1/2-inch plate and 2-inch solid bar that runs clear across the frame.
I remember when you did that and you told me about it and I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it until you explained it.
Well, and
It's ballast, basically.
Yeah, we did the plate because when I did the new motor, I lost the cast iron exhaust manifolds and the cast iron intake, and so I lost some weight up front. So I threw those plates on to kind of keep the truck where it was weight-wise.
1/2-inch plate. That stuff must be bulletproof. I mean, that's heavy duty, huh?
That stuff's pretty serious. The transfer case skid plate is actually AR 500 1/4-inch plate. It is bulletproof.
Which is insane.
Yeah, it was a nightmare to bend it on the press.
I remember you telling me that. I remember you showing me that. When I first noticed it, I shouldn't say when you first put it on. When I first noticed it one day, I'm like, yeah, a company named AR 500 makes bulletproof plates and vests and such. And you're like, that's them.
Yeah.
It's not often when you can run into someone who says my transfer case is bulletproof. Literally. But that's just how Rory rolls. And that's just Trailmater.
Well, like I said, it's like the drivetrain is fairly stock Chevy. So like the motor, 4-speed SM 465, just a factory GM 4-speed, to Chevy 205 transfer case. It's got the modified shift rails, so you can run each axle independently. You can run just the front axle, just the rear axle, or 4-wheel drive.
And you use that
Oh yeah,
to spin the truck.
I use the heck out of the front digs all the time.
You did that on that that cliff we were on, that snowy morning.
Yeah.
The guy with the white Jeep. And I couldn't believe the balls. I'm like, this guy's out of his mind. If this went wrong, he goes over, but didn't seem to care.
Yeah.
That was pretty amazing.
But like I said, that drive line is just basically stock mid-80s Chevy drivetrain.
You juiced up both of the axles though, right? I've seen you do that a couple of times.
Well, so the front axle is a stock Dana 60 Chevy. It's got the high steer arms to get the steering up over the springs so that it stays out of the way of the rocks. It's got 35 spline chrome moly shafts in it, but other than that, it's pretty factory. It's got a Detroit locker in it, but it is running the factory 410 gears.
Why is that? You told me why, and I can't remember.
So the 410 gear, the ring and pinion, the tooth engagement is basically the strongest gear set you can get. Like the number of teeth on the pinion to the number of teeth on the ring gear, there's the strongest tooth engagement. It's the strongest gear ratio. So going lower gears, like a lot of the Toyota guys will go 529s.
You told me about
They all
this.
go 529s, and then they all rip 2 or 3 pinion teeth or ring gear teeth off of their ring gear because the pinion gets so small. Yeah, and it just doesn't work because as soon as you hop or anything happens. I have drug so much stuff out of the backwoods. I've drug Connexes around with this truck. I have beat on this truck.
Propane trucks mired.
I have never had to deal with a broken ring and pinion.
Now, when I was here, I'm going to guess a few years ago, and we had my truck taken apart for whatever reason, and I said, hey, shouldn't I do 529s? You told me that story, and I believed you, but I still checked on it with a couple of guys that's all they do, and they were like, we don't like to say it, but it's absolutely true. So I'm like, you're putting in lower gears, but you're actually making your gears weaker. And he's like, it is what it is. You know, there's no way around it.
Yeah, if you want the lower gears, you've got it. You've got to make some sacrifices. I've thought of going to like 488 gears in this because I think it would help somewhat, but I'm waiting on my new transfer case because the new transfer case is going to have a 3-to-1 in it.
Can you talk about the new transfer case at all yet?
Yeah. Midnight Metalworks is working on their new 205. They've already got a Dana 300 transfer case. It's the D300 rock box, which is based off of the Dana 300. Very strong, capable unit. They're doing awesome. They're working on the 205. They haven't got it completely done yet because serial number 0001 is going in this. But we're going through it. We're trying to get some things sorted. It's a prototype transfer case, so it's taken some longer time to get everything to work exactly as they want it to. So it's fine because, like you said, it's going to be an awesome product when it's done. But I've worked with them on all the issues that I've had with this one and told them what to look for as they're doing it, and they've been totally receptive of everything I've mentioned. And I think it's going to be a bulletproof setup. It's going to be really awesome.
How awesome is it going from spare parts to literally having 0001 of a custom built based on your feedback and your driving style? That's awesome, dude.
And they're calling it the Moab case.
Sweet.
Mother of all boxes.
Mother of all boxes.
Yeah,
You
so
gotta love it.
That's super cool.
That is awesome, man.
But then, like I said, that's what you're talking. So we've got our welder in here. This is the
Premier welder?
Yeah, Premier Power Welder.
I got it. And you got the Premier Power Welder. We've used that. I can attest to it. I stood right there. I was literally making out my last will and testament, pacing back and forth, and Rory just welded away, and that thing got us out. And I mean, a 454 puts some serious torque on a front drive shaft in 2 feet of snow.
Yeah, well, and like I said, I mean, we were running the original driveline at the time, which was 1310 U joints. So I mean, that's like the smallest U joint you can get that was running on here.
But it
with
worked.
37s and a big block. So like I said, that driveline should have died long before that day. But anyway, it got us out. But that's the big thing, is like having the welder. So having the welder, having onboard air, having the tools, having extra parts that we carry and all that just adds to like the different level of off-road recovery we're offering.
You're a legit serious welder. Everyone that knows you knows that. Like, you're a serious welder. You don't just do it you're a serious welder. You don't mess around. And you still carry just the Premier as opposed to carrying an entire welder because it does the job?
Yeah, it does awesome.
That's amazing. That's quite the statement.
Well, and like I said, when I first got one of these years ago, I first got it, I was doing pipeline welding at the time, working in the oil field in Colorado, and was doing pipeline welding, and I had the big generator welder in the bed of my truck and everything. And I bought a Jeep, a project Jeep that had the welder on it. And so I called him up and said I needed some parts or whatever, and could you send me an instruction manual for it? Because I just wanted to read about it, and might as well talk to the company that builds it. And so I got the instruction manual and was reading through it and checking it out, what it's capable of, what it'll do, all that stuff. And they say that it is a certified pipe welder. Like, you can weld X-ray certified pipe.
That's quite the statement.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. And the more I've used it, it's like, no, it really does. It's an awesome setup. So having that ability to weld out in the field is like, the other night we went and got one off Fins and Things that the Jeep had broke, and it had destroyed the bracket. It was totally junk. There was not much left. So, but we got it back in place where we tacked it together enough that it could drive off the trail. Then we carried it down to the shop and we cut it all apart and fixed it the next morning. But with where it was at, like I said, that dip on Fins and Things where I got that hood was on the opposite side of that. So I would have had to carry it through there.
Right.
And I don't like carrying stuff through there. So that's where it was like, we'll just weld it back together, drive it through there, and then we'll pick it up and carry it out. So having that option is huge. And a lot of those, I mean, they have so many trail welders. They have the ones that clip to batteries. They've got ones with battery packs in them, with the wire, the MIG guns and stuff like that. And they work, but for like straight up welding something together and knowing it's going to last, I just feel better with that.
It's quite the statement, because Rory is a real welder.
Well, we've done quite a bit of trail repairs where, somebody calls and tells us what's broke. We'll cut some stuff out on the plasma table, we'll take it out there, we'll weld it. And the guys asked me, he's like, so how long is that good for? I'm like, no, it's just fixed now. Like, it's not just a trail repair like there, it's just fixed.
It's fixed.
You don't have to bring it to the shop and have us redo it, it's just done.
It's phenomenal. So with just that small box mounted in the truck, the only other thing you have to do is add the alternator. That's it.
It's its own alternator. It comes with the box. It's its own alternator. There's two sides of the alternator. It charges the batteries while it's running, and when you turn it on, it shuts off the charge side and goes to the other side, which is the weld coils, and then it's a welder.
Sweet. Let's take a look at the world's... I'm going to guess that Snap-on donated these, because I don't know anybody in their right mind that would spend that much money for those shifters, even though they are badass.
Well, so I did that with a bunch of Craftsman wrenches that I had left.
I remember.
I did all the Craftsman wrenches. Then my Snap-on dealer seen it and was like, oh, you can't have that. We got to get that. And so he may have gave me those wrenches. However, I don't think I would say that
That's right.
he lost any money.
That's right. The dealer gave you a free needle just to shoot some more. That's all.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's badass. It's just one of the little touches in the truck that if you've never been in it, you might not have saw them.
And like you said, like this one, I actually went out and did a job. It was a Nissan Titan. Had broken axle shaft and damaged his radiator. So we took a new axle shaft and a radiator out onto Lockhart Basin. We got out there and we replaced the radiator. We jacked the truck up. We're going to replace the axle shaft, and I had forgot the axle nut socket. And I'm like looking through stuff, and I'm trying to figure it out. And I'm like, And I'm like, wait a minute. I think. So I reached up under there, and I twisted that out and pulled the shifter out. It was the right size. I used my shifter
That's
to take the axle.
That's gangster right there. That's
Take the axle nut off, put it back on. The fact that it fit was just hilarious. Oh, then, yeah, but now we carry that socket. It's on the truck. We make sure we have it.
I would imagine.
But it was just really funny. But like you said, every little tidbit of the inside of the truck. I mean, these grips, these pink grips, are for Lily. But
well, that's not. I've used them.
Right.
Shawns used them.
Well, and you know, because Lily rides here all the time, so the girl that bought these for me is actually the wife of the guy I built the truck for originally.
Nice.
So that's why she ordered them, you know.
Nice.
And so all that fun stuff. But
the interior. Those are fairly new seats, are they not?
yeah, those are about a year and a half old. Year and a half.
I don't remember the old ones, believe it or not. I just know that these are. I don't know how you do it, but they're tough for me to get in because I'm old.
Yeah,
and it's a long way down. If you've never actually got in Trailmater, it's a long way down.
Yeah, they're a pain in the butt, but they're so comfortable once you're in them.
Right, and they hold you.
Yeah, and that's why that side is trashed. Just jumping in and out.
Yeah, like an alligator sliding down a
yeah, jump in and out all the time. But I'm looking at doing some new ones that don't have the bolster on the side, not as high.
Well, I got some friends over at Sorello Performance Seating in California that build seats.
Yeah.
Maybe they can help you out. We'll see if I'll hook up with them.
Yeah. Somebody's been talking to me about giving me some that are embroidered Trailmater and all that stuff.
Okay, well, we'll see who gets them done first.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
How's
But
that?
So these steps, the same thing with the grips. So I put these on because my buddy's wife was like, "There's no way to get in that truck. It's too high." So we built these chain steps, and they used the heck out of them.
So did I.
And so I just left them in here because they're just cool. And I use them all the time. Like when I've got to get up in here and access something out of one of these. So I'm always using them.
Oh, they're definitely functional.
Yeah.
And they've been there a long time.
They're one of the conversation pieces.
I couldn't get in without it. Well, I could, but it would suck.
Right.
It still sucks. The
Well,
truck's big. She's tall.
We've got right here we've got a spill kit with absorbent mats and stuff like that for anything.
Right. You're very responsible on the road, on the trails, and you work with the trail guys doing volunteer work constantly.
With BLM, Forest Service,
Right.
everything. And then we got the jumper cables hiding underneath this seat. They just have always been there, and it's just a nice little cubby hole that they just hide in. And then we've got our switch controllers in here. This is for our rock lights and our
There it is. There it is.
see, switch might be a little dusty.
It happens. It's a little dusty out here.
And then it's got 3 of the winch controllers are on there. The side winches and the auxiliary winch up top are all controlled from in there. Everything else runs on remotes. And then I guess we got to migrate to the other side.
Okay. Let's migrate. Migrated. Here we are. That's a very fancy Saturday morning word.
Yeah. For all the fun stuff over here.
All right. What do we got?
So we've got some more of our awesome Trailmater stuff. Yeah, that's the old man mat
You
right
bet.
there.
You bet.
Yeah, that right there is the way to go.
Saves your knees, man,
Yeah.
especially on that cold night, desert dirt.
And then behind that, very important stuff here.
Red Bull, if you're listening, you really ought to sponsor him because he supports your product
Keeps us going.
wholeheartedly.
We've got a tire plug kit there.
Tire plug kit, onboard compressors.
Yeah.
And there's no need for rock sliders on this because you just don't bother with them. You just go right over. That's all.
Mostly rock sliders. But we've got our $10 Harbor Freight magnet right here. Holds. And this is an AR assault ratchet.
Nice.
This is an automatic, fully auto, no more manual.
Oh my. Oh my. All the liberals just started hashtagging.
This is a 3/4 inch wrench. So everything we have mounted, these ramps that are bolted on, are bolted with a 3/4 inch nut. The high lift jack, 3/4 inch nut. The land anchor, 3/4 inch nut. The ramps on the trailer, 3/4 inch nut. So that we have one wrench that just sticks on the magnet, so whenever we need it.
Sweet.
Yeah, which we had the manual until we mentioned that, it was taking so long to take the nut off. So then my Snap-on dealer gave me a full auto.
Nice. Nice.
But, so that's most of it. I mean, we've got our handbrake here. That's just for the rear axles. Yeah, that's how I do my front digs most of the time, holding the rear brakes, operate the front tires to spin around, help turn, all that fun stuff. The newest addition to Trailmater that we have done in the last couple months is a functioning parking lot.
Are you kidding me?
Functioning. Yeah.
That is sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
Oh my, huh?
Yeah. We went through and we really splurged on that one.
Well, she deserves it.
I mean, it was mostly stuff we found in the backyard, but that would fit
But still,
right. Yeah.
you bet.
So, but then going from like here back, so we've got our ramps here, which these are not traction boards. They could be used as traction boards, but they are not traction boards. So Max Tracks is not what they are, because Max Tracks wouldn't do what these do. These are ramps. So a lot of time we'll go out and get cars, minivans, SUVs that are somewhere that took a wrong turn and went down a road, and then they went down something that now they can't get back up. So we take those and we'll use them, set them up as ramps, and then winch a vehicle up a rock ledge that they could go down because gravity's on your side. You'll always go down. And then in order to come back up, it goes back to that whole trying not to rip bumpers and fenders
Right.
and stuff off. But we'll set those up and actually make a ramp to drive up. And they work really good as skid plates for putting disabled vehicles like on a trailer for the side-by-sides when they have a broken wheel off. We actually did one on Cane Creek where the ball joint had broke and the whole tire had come off, and we set one of those on the ground and put the ball joint in one of the holes on that and used it as a skid to get it out of the way so that it could get off the track.
Dude, that's getting brilliant. Pardon my English, French, but that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, who makes those?
I did.
No. There's no way you... Are you saying that you fabricated and dimpled that incredibly thick stock? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right here, I have my
forgot.
handy little 3D printer for steel.
3D printer for steel.
We got a plasma table. I cut those out, and then we've got a press and a dimple die set.
But that gave you a hell of a time, didn't it?
Yo, it was, yeah. So this one is 50/54 aluminum, and it was fairly standard run-of-the-mill. It one wasn't bad. This ramp right here is 60/64 aluminum, and it was very hard to bend. But I got it done. It bent, it dimple died. My press didn't like it, none of it liked it,
Right.
but it's there, it's done. I could probably never recreate that one.
They are beautiful,
Yeah.
man, and highly functional. And you use them, like you just said, in ways
Yeah.
most people, like a skid plate. That's brilliant, dude.
Yeah, we use them a lot on that.
That is brilliant.
And then, like you said,
You got your light bar up there.
oh yeah, I got my blinky light bar.
We all like blinky lights. Yellow and green, orange and green. I'm old, so cut me some slack.
But so then we We've got our kinetic ropes tucked in behind here. So we've got all of our snatch straps right there. Then we've got all Milwaukee pack out boxes right here.
You dig those, right?
I love those.
Yeah, you
those
told
are
me.
Really good. This one, what is this one? This one's spare parts for the truck.
For this truck?
Yes.
Gotcha.
So this is all bushings for the springs, bushings, bolts, spare shackles, which the spare shackles also double as leaf spring repair kit. So I've used these, if you turn them sideways and stick them right here and bolt through them, you can actually clamp a leaf spring back together to drive off the trail. So,
Because at the end of the day, all you want to do is drive off the trail,
you just want to get
if
home.
possible.
Yeah, and like I said, I broke a spring on this, and so now I carry those. Because, yeah. And then we've got our bottle jack here. This box is nuts, bolts, fuses, electrical, spare fuel pump. Then I believe this one has my spare belt. The other one has wrenches. And on the opposite side of the truck is all our welding gear, welding rod, welding mask, tape measure, hammers, grinder, all that stuff.
Now, is that black tube your Overland solar shower kit?
No.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
Oh, okay. My mistake. Oh, my. Goodness.
This
This is someone that's been doing this for a while, ladies and gentlemen.
This is from my days of oil field welding.
Oh, that's not your usual umbrella.
No, it's a very big.
I see that. That's awesome.
But then,
You're seeing this first here, ladies and gentlemen.
so when you pick a rig up and you're working on it, and it's 100 and some degrees outside,
An obscene temperature.
or raining, or snowing, or whatever.
That's what years of experience. That to tell you what, I was just breaking balls about the solar thing, but I had no clue that was in there.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and like I said, it's got its extension leg. So
Wow.
You can stick it in just about anywhere on the truck. You can do whatever. You can set it up to whatever you need. Tie it to the truck if you need for rain, for snow, for whatever.
The beauty of this is over the years, especially with the accident, making lemons out of lemonade, or whatever, however that goes, whatever. You've made small little adjustments that make a big difference on your end when you're doing the recoveries.
These right here were built because about 4 years ago, I didn't have fenders, and you drive down the road, certain times of the year, the monsoon season, mud just flings everywhere. And it covers everything. And it gets in the winches, it gets everywhere, it's just a nightmare. So I made these just for the muddy season. So I bolted them on, and they're so handy as workbenches
I can imagine.
and tables that they've just kind of stayed. And this one actually got destroyed the other day by a snow chain that came loose and grabbed it, you see right there, and wadded it up underneath here. And it was totally bent, mangled, and destroyed. But I put it in the press brake and brought it back to life.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Okay, for those of you that have never had to enjoy editing from a hotel room in Moab, 45 minutes is the max. The video will never upload. So unfortunately, there's going to have to be a part 2. But fortunately, that part 2 will be ready probably in a day or two. So keep your eye open. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like,